If you're willing to open up your mind and listen to what someone else has experienced, or that they saw a problem and how did they solve it, or just a new idea or a new way of thinking, that is fun and exciting. And whether you agree with it or don't agree with it, at least you're saying, I just never thought of that before. I never saw it that way.
This is where it all begins, so say goodbye to all your fears, all your doubts. This is where they die. This is where we come to win, we come to fly. This is where we make our dreams come to life. Welcome to Innovation City.
Welcome to Innovation City, a podcast featuring the innovators, disruptors, and creators who are changing the way that business happens. My name is Tyler Kelly. I'm here with my co-host, Leanne Buchanan. And we are super excited because we are joined today by Mich Hancock.
Hello. Thank you, guys.
Welcome.
Thank you for welcoming me. I feel welcomed.
Well, Mich, thanks so much for coming. We're going to get a little bit into your resume and your bio. For those that don't know you, you are the CEO of a Hundredth Monkey. And when I read about it, what I loved was that you're focused on facilitating creating those authentic human connections that are so hard to do in the digital space, through social media and other means. And you're also the co-founder of Tedx Gateway Arch.
Yes, ma'am.
And that is right here in St. Louis. And I think that we're going to talk a lot about storytelling today, because that is what people love about these TED conversations. But to kick it off, why don't you start by telling us what is a story that has had the most impact on you?
Oh my gosh, do you guys really want to know?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I have a story. So when people first see me, I get hugs a lot, which I love hugs. And, I'm all for hugging. But most of the time I get hugs because people are like, oh, you're a survivor. Because they, see I don't have hair. And they wonder, that's the thing we think, right? Is, oh, this person must have, been going through chemotherapy or something. I don't have any hair because I have something called alopecia. Mm-hmm. However, the reason why the hair all fell out was I had adopted a little boy who ended up being a sociopath. Mm. Yeah. So these people, it's a very interesting, it's very interesting, these people that are sociopaths, because I am a super loving person. I connect easily with others, and yet sociopaths just do not connect with you. There's no connection. Now, as a child, when he was 4, when we adopted him, and I did not realize that was what the case was, because, you're like, something's not right. We have this issue, and, and they're like throwing all kinds of terms at you. Oh, it's OCD. Oh, he's developing bipolar. He's ADHD. I mean, you're in this alphabet of nightmares, with these different things that mental health professionals are telling you. But at one point, it was very evident that something was really scary. Things like killing pets and animals. And that's when it came out that, this child is a sociopath. Now, they don't say that. They call it reactive attachment disorder. And they also use the term sociopathic tendencies and behaviors. But you have a person like that in your world, and I'm thankful that it was just my hair. Let me put it that way. Like, I could still get up in the morning and function and keep, my daughter safe and what have you, but it's a difficult thing to go through. And that story really defined a lot of who I am now. You learn how resilient you are. And also, when I was finally at a place where I was like, the end is here. We're at the end of all of this. I no longer have to have this person in my life. He's now in prison. I was able to sleep again. And after 2 months of I had sleep for 2 months. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so great. I forgot how wonderful sleep is, that I don't have to, have my radar on all the time. I woke up and went, oh my gosh, I remember who I am. Oh my gosh, I completely lost myself in all of this. And I thought, I'm going to start a social media company, having not one clue what that meant. It seemed like a good idea because for me, when I started really looking at all of it, and, I'm an older gal, so it was interesting for me to, get over into social media when I felt like all these people that are into could be my children. But I was a safe bridge, number one, for older clients to get into social media because I had been through the ropes. I knew about everything that, they had experienced over the years, and now here's this new thing called social media. But I also felt like when I looked at it, wow, all my weird talents finally make sense. There's finally a place where I can take all this hodgepodge of things and make it make sense. So I was thrilled about it.
Yeah, I think what I appreciate about your story is the level of transparency and vulnerability that we don't often see in marketing, in branding, and on social media. Talk to us for a moment about how you're able to work with clients and design these digital experiences that get to the human element.
So I've always thought it was interesting when this all began to happen, when social media became a thing, and how so many people, there were these resist. Now remember, I'm working with the older folks, right? And the older folks are like, oh, nobody calls anymore, nobody connects. And I kept thinking, no, I disagree. You can totally connect with people through digital means. It's all how you present yourself. What words are you using? What stories are you telling? And I think we think about this a lot when we work with a client. What the thing we want to do is we want to sound like them. So we ask a lot of questions in the beginning, and I listen to the words they're using so that we can really mimic what their culture is, who they are, what have you. But yes, you can definitely connect with people digitally. And I think we're seeing that more so now that there's Zoom calls going on all the time. We're starting to see where people are realizing, I don't have to be in the same room with you to connect with you. And so yes, and authenticity is huge and transparency is huge. I mean, we're all humans on this earth, and guess what? It's freaking hard. Earth School is super difficult. So if you're here at Earth School, there's a lot to learn. You're not going to get out of here with all peaches and cream and wow, that was really easy. Mm-hmm. I mean, I got questions after I'm done here. I want to know what I signed up for. Like, did I raise my hand a lot when I was on the other? I'll do that. I'll go through that. Yeah. Oh, soul growth. Awesome.
Yeah, I've always thought that we pick our experience, and so we signed up for this.
Yeah.
That's my worldview.
I'm telling you. No, I think there's something to it, but it seems a lot easier on the other side, I think. It doesn't seem.
I would hope
you don't
so.
realize how much pain is going to be involved with all of this, so.
Yeah, and I can only imagine. I mean, one of the sayings I live by is that the people in your life were meant to, teach you about yourself and the story you started with. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, surprise.
And, yeah.
You asked. I'm
And you told us the end of the story.
Yes, I mean, so it at one point I finally did get him out of the house. Now I was dealing with the Department of Children's Services, and I don't know if you know anything about them, but I will tell you, super corrupt and crazy. I was looking at all of this and thinking, this child is a sociopath, and I think it's because he came from this sociopathic agency that might have something to do with it. But if you follow the money, the Department of Social Services does not want you to they do not want to take the adopted child out of the home because they don't get as much federal funding. So they want to keep them in place, despite that it could be the end of your life, which in my instance, I believe was going to be the case because he actually said out loud that he did want to kill me and my daughter, and he told me what the plan was to do so. So that's what started me on the road of, I really have to get him. And he was getting older, and knives went missing. I mean, this is actually happening, right? So the Department of Social Services, you have to learn how they work in order to keep yourself safe. And I was lucky enough to figure out how to make all of this happen to eventually get him out of the house. But then they basically kept putting him in with other foster families that I had no contact with. And he ended up sexually assaulting one of the little girls in the family. And that landed him in prison. So, He's there for quite a while, and I know one thing about sociopaths is you want them to forget you. So, I know this is heavy. Let's go light.
Well, let's go back to social media. Right.
Love it there. My favorite place.
You mentioned earlier about how like it was the perfect vehicle for all of your talents. So introduce us to some of those gifts and talents.
First, I don't like spending a lot of time. I love writing, but I want tiny little things to write. So that's perfect for social media. Like I was like, if I could write a 3-sentence book, yay! So I get to do that all the time. Visually, I am by no means a graphic design artist, but I was so intrigued when Canva came out. I thought my world has become so much better. I love Canva so much. It makes you look good. You can right there get stuff done. And I think the other thing is just thinking through, people don't understand the power of a post until they sit down and have to do it and figure out all the different elements that go into creating something that's going to grab attention, leading them over to a place where they, I think of it as holding hands. So there's my advertisement, and I go to a landing page, and you're in the right place, and you're so intrigued, you're willing to give that email address up, for marketing purposes. It's fun to figure out how to make a client find their audience. And I think that's just one of the joys of it.
I'm curious because we're really in the age where social media drives consumer behavior significantly. And a lot of the kind of behavioral economics around social media are trust and confidence of your friend, the influencers who are not going to lead you astray, this idea of being socially conscious and relevant. So talk to us for a moment about what are some of the strategies that you implement to create a real cohesive customer journey from social media then to brand goodwill and attribution?
I think more so than anything, I would bring this back to the clients. I mean, we work with clients that we feel they are of integrity. You have to be of integrity for me to work with you. I can't represent, and I can't sleep at night if I felt like somebody wasn't doing, wasn't on the up and up. So that really makes it easy, because if they're already people of integrity, they have something awesome to share. They take their clients as seriously as we take our clients, then it's just a matter of bringing out the best of who they are, putting the right words around all of it, and then sending it out there in front of the right people, which luckily social media makes that really easy. So, well, kind of, until you get to Facebook Business Manager, you can cry. I know, but
You mentioned and this may not be true anymore, but for the most part, older professionals is your customer base?
Yeah, still pretty much so. I mean, I feel like it's interesting how many people I talk to that they'll say, "Now, Mish, I'm an older person. I'm like 55." I'm like, "Yes, so am I." So,
So what are some of the misconceptions or challenges that they face?
It's mainly that not understanding how social media works. It's really frustrating for people that, so one of my clients, I remember one time, and he owns a number of car dealerships, and he said, there was a time when I could put X amount of spots on the radio over the weekend, and I knew I was going to sell this many cars next week. How do I do that now? I'm like, oh yeah, no, I know. It's a big system that needs to be built, and I think the other thing that is frustrating is that they thought print and all that was supposed to be dead. And now I'm supposed to go move into this digital space, and you're like, no, none of it died. You still can do all of it and more, So it's really difficult for them to understand, how do you bring in all the analytics of this? How do you know that something, so you have to, there's a lot of terms you have to teach, and there's also that whole part of, yes, lead generation, but conversions, and you have to talk to me. You have to tell me when you get a lead and you talk to them, how did that work? And if it didn't work, or that what you do in your sales process will help inform us in marketing. So I think marketing and sales used to be kind of siloed from each other, but more and more people are really getting that marketing and sales work together. They're holding hands and doing what they should do together so that they inform each other, right? So there's a lot of begging them to give me feedback.
I'm kind of curious, switching gears here for a moment, how you got started with this TEDx movement, because that idea that, sharing ideas can change the world. I'm a big fan of TED.
Yes.
But talk to us about how you got started, what that process was like bringing this to the community, and really how it's evolved over time.
Oh, well, it's one of my passions and joy. So what's really interesting about TEDx Gateway Arch, and I will tell you that we are now holding the license for TEDx St. Louis. So we're going to go through a whole branding thing. But Steve Summers, who is my other co-founder, Steve is the one that started it. He got this idea that, I want to bring this TEDx thing to St. Louis and see it, really rise. And I was all for it. So Steve's brother actually introduced me to Steve, and then Steve and I just hit the ground running. So we started out with a lot of passion and drive. We just decided we got to make this thing happen, because if you look at TED and TEDx and the organization that is, it truly is about helping people to see things from other perspectives. And our mission, we want to build a very inclusive environment, and if it's all about inclusivity, one of the best ways you can do that is to help people see things from different perspectives. I want you to watch a talk, and whether you agree with it or don't agree with it, at least you're saying, I just never thought of that before. I never saw it that way. And that's how we understand each other, right? Because if we go through life with blinders on and we're like, I don't get it, I don't want to get it, which these people that do, they're very closed. But if you're willing to open up your mind and listen to what someone else has experienced, or that they saw a problem and how did they solve it, or just a new idea or a new way of thinking, that is fun and exciting.
I think that this idea that innovation and thinking differently is grounded in inclusion is just so transformative. Talk to us about maybe one of the favorite stories. What's like one story that graced the TEDx stage that really sits with you, that's really memorable or inspiring?
Oh, there's so many. That's a difficult one. So let's see. I will say some of my most favorite and memorable talks. Like, there's a woman named Teresa Carrington, and it was called the Blessing Basket. It's now called 10 by 3. What intrigued me about Teresa was she was so called to figure out how to stop poverty. That was her whole thing. She was like, I need to stop poverty. That's kind of a big deal to fulfill, but she figured out a way to do it brilliantly. And I truly believe, this woman is creating great waves over the globe with how she approaches this. She goes into these little villages all around the world, and she finds a woman that she says has the entrepreneurial DNA. And she teaches that woman the art of making baskets. And then a year later, that woman is hiring other people to make baskets. And then the men in the community, they have roles as well. They may be delivering baskets that are going to go around the world. There's a technology component to it, so you can track everything that's being purchased, so that whoever ends up purchasing that basket can actually communicate with the artisan who created it. And these people get paid prosperity wages. So the wages that help them get a car and send their kids to school, and not just, oh yay, we can eat every day. It's no, we are going to participate in this world as we watch those lucky Americans doing over there. So to me, that alone, a person so driven to help out the world in that way, is amazing. And of course we want to showcase that on our stage.
10 by 3.
10 by 3.
So I think you and I first met at MDMC like 4 or 5 years ago. Do you think that might be true or no?
I think that you're
maybe,
right.
Maybe not.
I think we did. No, I think you're right. Good memory.
Okay. But obviously MDMC was virtual this year, and TEDx is going to be, your TEDx will be virtual in the future.
Can I talk about MDMC real quick?
Yeah, you can.
So, myself and Josh Levy, we facilitated and coached Mosiah Bridges. He was one of the keynote speakers. That was so much fun. So Mosiah Bridges, did you watch him or see him?
Yeah.
So Mosiah Bridges, he is now 18. He's been an entrepreneur since he was 9. He started Mo's Bows, where he makes these bow ties. He's like very dashing. Even as a 4-year-old, he was like, he was dressed, And I love this kid. And I got to tell you, it was so much fun to help him work on that presentation and watch him deliver it. I got chills. When I saw him. I was so excited for him. But yes, so TEDx is going to be virtual for 2020. 2021, we will get back to where we can do events, IRL. But for right now, we're going to go virtual. We're just now putting some things together to kind of do like a TEDx happy hour, if you will, and just introduce people to some really cool people in the area. We may not do actual talks this time. That may wait until 2021. But it's that whole thing, like screen fatigue is, you don't want to, it's just like an hour long, like boom, 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 jump from one thing to another, and just enough to like keep in touch with our community.
I was pretty gung-ho on the Zoom meetings. Now I'm completely off.
Really?
Of Zoom meetings.
I still love them because I think Venture Cafe has figured out the magic behind, Zoom is connectivity over content. And when we focus, I meet people in the virtual networking space, and I love it.
I do too.
I met someone from Illinois, I met someone from Philly, and I think that's really we were talking about earlier. There's really no disconnect between digital and IRL. It's just how you design the gathering and that experience to focus on the human element. So
I'm with you. I like the Zoom thing. I love it. And I gave lots of Zoom lessons. Remember my clients. So yes, that was one of the very first things, when Zoom became this big deal, we contacted all of our clients and said, so you're going to be doing a lot of Zoom meetings. Do you know how to do a Zoom meeting? Let's practice.
Oh, that's
great. And so we helped everybody practice. We made virtual backgrounds for everybody.
That's perfect.
So,
are you ready?
Ready?
Ready for the lightning
round?
round?
For the game?
Okay, I'm ready. I don't know what we're doing, but I'm going to be ready.
So I got these cards and switching it up on Tyler this week as well. And I love them because they help create conversation. And so I'm just going to start with the first card, and then you can pick one, and then we'll go back and forth.
Okay,
we're done.
so we don't even know what the questions are.
I honestly don't know. It's serendipity. Just like that. So I'm going to pick a card, and the card says, what challenge do you want to overcome?
What challenge do I want to overcome? All right, top of mind challenge right now is when it comes to running a business, I am really sucky at the accounting understanding, the MBA thing that I never got. I'm getting it now, right? And so I am learning how to really understand, what is a P&L statement telling me? What is this telling me? I mean, you don't want me to be your accountant. I did choose right going into social media and not becoming an accountant. But it's a challenge for me. So I'm getting it, and I'm embracing it. But yes. So look at me. I'm so MBA right now.
There you go.
I have a tendency over the years to go through accountants, so I haven't found one that I like yet.
Really?
My accountant hopefully didn't hear that.
I love my accountant.
The gal that works for me, her name is Jill Lee, and I've decided Jill can do everything. And Jill's like, oh yeah, I can handle our accounting. I'm like, oh my God, what can't you do? You're awesome.
Okay, what risk are you happy that you took?
What risk am I? Starting a business, definitely. But I will tell you, this is going to go back. But a risk that I took when I was younger, I was in college, and I went to St. Louis University, and I found out that St. Louis U had a campus over in Madrid, Spain. And I thought, that sounds fun. And not even thinking about, I did not know anything about Madrid, Spain. I could not speak Spanish, but I decided I was going to sign up and see if they'd let me go. And crazy them, they did. And it was one of the best things I ever did for my life. I think that when you go completely away, and this was before social media, right? So there was no Facebook with my friends, you were just immersed in the culture. And I just learned how to be very self-reliant and to realize, boy, I can just go to a foreign country and figure it out. So that was a good risk.
It's a great lesson. Ooh, this one's fun. What is your perfect day?
Oh, gosh. Every day. No, my perfect day is, I am a creature of habit. So I like kind of just having my day set up ahead of time. So I'm one of those people, like, I get up, I exercise, and then I always have a nice 20-minute bath in the morning. I think that is just a wonderful way to start your day with my yummy coffee. And I'm usually watching some crazy show while I'm doing all of this. So I am definitely a consumer of Netflix, HBO, Showtime, name it. I got like every channel.
Okay, I'm veering away from the script for just a minute. Based on your experience, I want to know, like, for somebody that's reinventing themselves, like, what advice would you have for them?
First of all, do it. I think that as human beings, you can't be the same thing all the time. And I actually feel like I'm going through this right now because I can feel this little bit of grieving happening in my world, and there's nothing to be sad about. What I'm realizing is I'm grieving what Mich was doing, and I'm entering in a new phase of Mich. And I think having awareness on that is important, right? So it's not like I'm sad and I don't know why I'm sad and I'm just sad. It's like, why am I sad? What's going on? And asking all those questions. And I don't know what's going to happen next, but I can just feel there's something new coming into my world. And I just say, embrace it and be ready for it. And don't be afraid of you looking wonky and stepping over yourself and tripping a little bit. I really don't care when I do that stuff in front of people. I'm like, oh, did that? Okay, yeah, we'll get over it. But I think it's just a matter of putting awareness on it and saying, yeah, I'm ready to step into this new role. And that may mean giving up some things that you thought defined you, but that doesn't define you. You can always step into a whole new way of being and still have the core of you, the lovely part of being a loving human being and what have you of you, but do it. Have fun with it and don't be afraid of what you're going to look like.
I think that's perfect advice. I always tell some of the kids that I work with that your career doesn't define you, your family doesn't define you, your zip code doesn't define you, your skin color doesn't define you, but your purpose is what defines you.
And you can have different purposes throughout the world.
Exactly.
Yes, it's awesome.
Awesome.
One more?
I think we got time for one more.
What can you do today that you couldn't do a year ago?
What can I do today that I couldn't do a year ago? Oh. Gosh, you know what? I feel now that I am much better at sitting and taking the time to figure out what is my next step. I think before I was always just like, go, and not really like, wait. I think I'm older and wiser, and so my next step is much more thought through before I just move into it. So I've always said that a mantra of mine was fire, ready, aim. And I think I'm getting a little bit more on the ready, aim thing.
I think that's cogent advice for any entrepreneurs or innovators or change makers, is to be ready to kind of move forward and not be defined by where you are, but also be strategic and take aim and kind of maybe measure twice before you cut.
Is this the thing I should be doing right now?
Excellent.
Yes.
Mich, how can people get in touch with 100th Monkey? Or is it 100th Media?
100th Monkey. You got it. 100th Monkey. So
I'll say it all again.
I know. I know. It's hilarious. It's just what it is.
100th Monkey Media.
Just 100th Monkey.
Just 100th Monkey.
Yeah, just 100th Monkey. You can find us. Our website is 100thmm.com. If you Google Mich Hancock, I'm easy to find because there's not a lot of Miches out there. And TEDx is at tedxgatewayarch.org, but that'll be TEDx St. Louis at some point. We'll figure this out. Where else? Let's see. That's it. I mean, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on all those places. I'm easy to find. Come say hi. Be a part of my world.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Really enjoyed this conversation. I feel super energized after it. And so we appreciate you coming.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to Innovation City. If you like this episode, you can find more episodes at innovationcity.co or anywhere where you watch or listen to podcasts. Please subscribe, rate, and review, and we'll see you next week.
This is where it all begins, so say goodbye to all your fears, all your doubts. This is where they die. This is where we come to win, we come to fly. This is where we make our dreams